Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to day number 1 of the playoffs of the Masters Coliseum number 6. I'm, of course, host VIP, and with me, I'm joined by Kuro in the production and by the lovely people in the chat. Oh boy, it has been a couple of days. We were on a bit of a hiatus when it came to Masters Coliseum content. We did cover the group stage last week, and then we took a couple of days off to go over some other events, to go over WTL qualifiers, to go over the KSL SummerSlam, and now we are here. Now we are back with the main event with Masters Coliseum. We have the best of the best here for you tonight, and we're going to be kicking things off with Serral versus Clem. How do you get better than that? Serral versus Mario. But you know what? It's fine. We're going to get that later. I'm sure. Copium. Tonight we have 4 best of 5s. 4 best of 5s for you. We're going to be kicking things off with Serral versus Clem. We're going to be following it up with Beyond versus Dark, Hero versus Max Fax, and Cure versus Ragnarok. 4 best of 5s tonight. And this is going to be, I believe, a 5-day event for the playoffs. Plenty of StarCraft over the next 5 days. So mark your calendars. Do not miss anything, because we have plenty for you here on the CranKy Ducklings, as we always do. And Serral versus Clem, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful here. And a shout out to the WTL production team. We have had some technical issues over the past couple of weeks when it came to the clean feed and the stability and all that stuff, but it's looking good. It's looking pristine. It means that we have player cams in game. Let's go. We can see them get hype. We can see them get smoked. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be everything we ever wanted. As you can see here, we can see the vetoes. Serral, of course, getting rid of Gressvan. Clem, but getting rid of Altitude. Shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone. Altitude and Gressvan, or Altitude, of course, being very big, very large, very wide open. Likewise, Gressvan, very prone to some of these longer game situations where the Terran can cut the map in half. So, again, makes sense for these 2 maps to be vetoed. And now, up first, we have Babylon, followed by, of course, the other maps as well. Oh boy, I guess for some context as well, winner of this series does move on to face off the winner of Beyond versus Dark. It does not get easier from here. It doesn't get easier. We have the best of the best facing off here tonight. I did also omit some names later on in the week. I think starting tomorrow, Lambo, Rainer, Solar, and Maru are also going to be playing out their matches, but they are in the lower bracket. It is a double elimination tournament, !B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the Wikipedia page, if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves, and also the standings from the group stage. Again, the group stage were pretty intense. No big upsets, I would say. Just some really tough groups, some really rough groups, and it was definitely difficult for a lot of these players to actually make it on out and to make it through the group stage into the playoffs. I think maybe the biggest upset was Creator's matches were heartbreaking. They were heartbreaking. He did so well in the group stage, but barely did not make it out. Instead, Rainer just barely edged it out instead. So some really close standings, some close matches in the group stage. The same with Lambo and Rion, I would say. Same with them as well. Oh, as we are getting ready to jump on in. Okay. In the bottom right hand corner, we have Clem for Team Liquid. Beautiful. And of course, in the top left, we had a Serral from Team Basilisk getting into game number 1. Oh, and I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm also ready to experience some non-2x openers in TVZ. We've been casting a lot of the Koreans. We've been casting a lot of Maru, a lot of Beyond, a lot of Cure, and I'm happy to see a little bit of a breath of fresh air here from Clem. What's really interesting, though, is that Serral did go for a 15 hatch. I think he's going for a 15-15. This has been a little bit trendy in this matchup, specifically to help deal with something like a 2x opener. So really interesting to see Serral embrace this as well. We've been seeing this a lot from players like Dark, like Ragnarok as well. Solar hasn't quite embraced this anywhere near as much. But yeah, interesting opener from Serral. Of course, this does mean that Serral has access to faster queens. It's a bit of a greedier opener. Ideally, you want to only defend with queens and not really spend any lava on links. That's the goal here anyway. We'll see if he can get away with that, as we do see Clem just getting into a Rex expand, not a 2x. No. He's crazy. Now, that isn't to say that Clem isn't one to go for a 2-ranks opener. No, not at all. He's more than willing to, of course. But here, at least in game number 1, is going to be keeping that at bay, keeping that up his sleeve here for a later game. Of course, whenever I talk about Clem, I have to talk about his mech, obviously, as well, because he does play mech every single series. Prove me wrong. Especially in the best of 5, I expect it at least once. I expect a variation of mech at least once from Clem. I don't know why he likes it so much, but he does. He's had mixed success with it. He does win from time to time with the mech. He makes it work. But maybe he makes it work in spite of it being mech, and just because of his pure skill. It's possible. It is possible. As for now, it looks like we have a second Rex on the way, so Clem is getting ready for a 2-1-1 variation. First Reaper gets across the map, and as we can see, no links have been made. And, ooh, did I say 2-Rax variation? Man, never mind. We have more than just 2 Raxes. We have a third Rax on the way as well. Very interesting here from a Clem. So very aggressive build coming out from him. Is going to be building up quite a large amount of Marines. I believe this is just a 3-Rax, so not a 4-Rax. 4-Raxes are a lot more committed here from the Terran player. They hit that much harder, and they can do that much more damage. Again, we are in Babylon, a bit of a shorter rush distance by ground, so yeah, it does make sense for a Clem to go for a build like this. On top of that, the Raxes are hidden behind the main base mineral line, but there is an Overlord nearby to scout this. Serral is just waiting for the opportune moment to go in with said Overlord to try to get a read on what's going on. Oh, speaking of getting a read, Serral also going to be popping up here. Oh my god. What was this, a 3-minute or 3:10 lair timing? Jesus. Very fast lair coming out from Serral. Likewise, Roach Warren is on the way, additional gases as well. This could be for, I'm quickly checking, we don't really have too much of a queen count. So we don't have too many queens, so I'm not feeling a Nidus all in, but this could just be a, actually, no, I'm feeling Dropper Lords potentially. We've seen this before, these Dropper Lord all-ins, where we can bring the queens across the map alongside the roaches. Regardless, very committed here from Serral, and so far unscouted. The Reaper did not make it into the main. Reaper was denied entry by those queens. Roaches are on the way. This could just be for roach speed. It could just be for that, as the Reaper is coming back in, and there we go. We get the scouts. Clem now sees the fast lair, is now aware that something is wrong, something is amiss, even makes it into the natural, where he will get sniped. And I believe he did not see the Roach Warren. I think he caught wind of the gases. He saw 2 gases in the main base, but that is it. So it still could be, for all Clem knows, 2-base Spire. Could be a multitude of different things. Overseer dives in. Overseer does confirm the Marine count, and I think the Overseer saw the 2 additional Raxes behind the mineral line as well. So I believe Serral did see the 3 Raxes in total, and now he's getting ready back at home. He's going to be cutting workers here and making nothing but roaches, making sure he survives the initial push of Clem. I'm loving the use of Creep Thread as well. Unfortunately, it's not really going to pay off, as the creep is being forced back here by Clem as well. The Marines have arrived, but the Roaches are also here to keep them at bay as well. But that's a lot of Marines. Uh-oh. That is a lot of Marines. We haven't stimmed yet. Bear that in mind. Stim is such a valuable resource here for Clem. He does not have a medevac. He has very finite stims available. He does move forward, picking off 1, 2, 3 of these Roaches, 4 already. A lot of roaches do go down, but it looks like with reinforcements, Serral has enough to hold on. He does force this back. Did lose a queen in the process, but plenty of roaches are available, and Serral is going to be able to go for a counterattack from here. He's joining behind this, so he's not going all in. Again, the Marine count is high enough where I believe that Clem should be able to hold on to his natural base without too much issue. Yeah, Serral, he does move out across the map. As soon as he does approach that ramp, he's going to back up. He's going to respect the position of Clem. Just chipping away at the depots here and there, but not really committing to anything. He doesn't want to throw anything away. And we do see Serral, again, I mentioned earlier, droning. He's going to be droning, saturating his third. He's got double Evage Hammers. They were just thrown down. He can get into 1-1. And the goal here for Serral is to make life difficult for Clem to expand. Now, Clem does have a third CC on the way. It did just finish up. Oh, I'm loving the contamination on the fact. Oh, let's go. Oh, Serral. Let's go, Pop. You don't see contamination often enough, and on the factory is a valuable contamination to delay that tank production. Behind this, we have Burrow and Tunneling Claws on the way for Serral, so he's going to be committing, he's going to be doubling down to Roach production, hoping to harass with them as well. Again, doing a great job at chipping away at these Marines, forcing another stim. Not too many medevacs to support this, so every stim does hurt. Looks like Clem should be able to hunt down some of these roaches. Does get 1, should barely get a second towards the end there. So good pickoffs by Clem, but again, forced to react or arguably overreact to those roaches. So going to be cutting workers at 66. For those wondering, 66 drones is basically 3 base saturation. So this is very committed from Serral. He's going to be looking to go for almost a super maxed army, just prioritizing nothing but roaches. We have 6 overlords on the way. Big supply block for Serral. Ay, ay, ay. Not ideal, but that's sometimes what happens when you're making so many roaches. You know, they are inflated supply. They do quickly fill that number up, or they fill that number up very quickly. So finally he does break free, and there we go. We have Bird roaches on the way. We have drop lords on the way as well. So Serral about to go for mass multi-prong harassment here. Going to be hitting with 1-1. Infestation bit is thrown down. It looks like Serral, because of the supply block, he may believe that he missed his timing, and I don't think I would disagree with that. Again, it's taking him a little bit longer here to really be too assertive. So with this infestation bit, this should grant access to infestors to help deal with these bio-based pushes. Infestors should be on the way. Yo, let's go. We do have a missile turret as well from Clem. A little bit too late there. The roaches are already in the mineral lines. Looks like Clem has recognized though that the upgrade is done on the roaches of Serral. But yeah, the roaches are already in the main base, already in the natural as well. Drones are going down. Sorry, SCVs are going down. Not too many though, only 5. But we are causing a bit of havoc here, causing a bit of chaos. More roaches are going to be borrowed here, heading towards that 3rd base. The tank positioning, though, is looking pretty good. Oh, as I say that, one of those tanks is going to go down. Meanwhile, the picture is giving us some extra audio. You love to hear it. It's okay. It's day 1 of the playoffs, all right? You know, everyone, they're back in the office. They got to adjust all the knobs, you know, adjust all the audio. It's all good. It's all good. As we do see... Yeah, so just keeping up with the drop play. 2-2 on the way. There are those infestors that we were talking about. Again, infestors are a great supportive unit, especially for Roach Ravager. The big thing that Roach Ravager lacks is splash damage. That's where the Baneling comes into play. But without melee upgrades, without, you know, the appropriate upgrades, of course, and tech structures, Banelings are a little bit difficult to get into at this point, so infestors are the clear choice. From here, Serral can transition into a hive, into hydras, into lurkers. There it is. As if on cue, Hydrogen is on the way, lurkers are on the horizon, and that is really going to be the end goal here for Serral as the game progresses. He's on the way to get into the lunkers. We have the Roach Ravager once again hitting the field, being as active as possible. Serral, he is maxed, but he's maxed on an inefficient army. He wants to slowly wean himself off of these roaches and transition into more hydras, more lings, more banelings, more lurkers. But oh my god, we have a massive doom drop going across the map. Serral does not see this coming. That's a lot of medevacs. Jesus, that is what, 6-7 medevacs going into the main base. Serral completely out of position, and this could even end the game. We get into the main, the hive is exposed, the tech is exposed, 2-2 may not even finish here, and Serral has to make a tough choice. He is turning back home. He's going to try to fight this army head on here, but the Marines are trading so well against the Roaches. Hive, it does go down. Queens, Roach Ravager as well. On the front lines, you can see Serral is gaining ground. Oh, but he's losing a lot of his economy here as boys are being pulled. 23 workers go down. Serral just lost his main. Now he's going to be losing his natural. And Serral did turn back around. He will be able to deal with this. As Clem backs off, can he go for any of the tech structures? The Evo Chambers are still alive. Okay, he gets the infestation bit. He gets 1 Evo Chamber. And then he gets away. So he does deny +2 range. +2 carapace will finish, just barely. But this was an insane drop. It got so much damage done. Now Serral is in a lot of trouble. Now, thankfully for Serral, the Hydra Den and the Lurker Den are still alive. So he can get into Hydras and Lurkers. Problem is that they would be lair tech Lurkers. He did not have enough time to make any of the Lurker upgrades, like Seismic Spines or Adaptive Talons. And he won't be able to anytime soon. He doesn't just have to rebuild the hive, he has to rebuild the lair and the infestation bit as well. It's a long road of recovery here for Serral. Just wasn't ready in time, wasn't in position for the drop. And now we can see that over time, Clem is going to be outscaling Serral here. Clem is on 4 bases at this point. He's got 3 or soon to be 3 on the way. Now, Lurkers are in production. Looks like the lair is done. Infestation Pit is on the way here for Serral. He's trying to build himself back up into that hive tech. He needs those Vipers. Vipers will be so crucial here to defend, to deal with this biotank army. See Clem quick to draw, quick to siege up on that high ground, getting a lot of volleys off on that ground army. Serral, he just needs to try to slow this down. Meanwhile, the drop comes back into the main, and we have the picture-in-picture. The Lurker Den and the Hydra Den are going to be sniped. Speaking of being sniped, oh, these Lurkers are looking very exposed. 2, 3, 4 Lurkers are going to be going down. Sorry, 3, there we go. 4 Lurkers do go down. Oh, and again, Clem is just trading a little bit too efficiently. He's killing units that cannot be replaced. We can see Serral, he's forced to make one thing and one thing only. That is roaches. That is the only thing he can really rely on. And roaches at this stage, again, they just don't really scale well into the late game. But here we go. He's trying to dive on top of the tanks. The Lurkers do get burrowed. And the tanks are going to get cleaned up. It looks like Clem may have overextended a little bit. He just did not have enough Marines here to support. At the same time, a big roach counterattack. 19 SCVs are going down at the third base. Serral, he is fighting back. He is still in this. He may be stuck on a subpar army, but mate, he's still making it work. Still barely holding on with as little Lurkers as he had back at home. And Clem was really just not anticipating a run by a roach counterattack like that. 21 workers in total went down. Clem's economy is now crippled. Still better than Serral's economy, I will say, but not ideal. As the drop play is continuing. Hive is on the way. Hydrogen as well. Serral's still working on rebuilding his tech. Oof, that's a lot of overlords. Oh no. A lot of overlords are going to be going down. Almost supply blocking Serral. And every unit does count. Even these overlords. We do see a bit of a lurker drop into the main base, but ghosts have arrived, and that's terrifying for Serral. For ghosts to have hit the field. It looks like some of these tanks are exposed. 3 tanks go down. Soon to be 4. Really good pickoffs here from Serral. A little bit of miscontrol, though. He did end up borrowing all of his Ravagers. I don't think that was quite intentional, as he does lose his lurkers. But getting those tanks, really good pickoffs here from Serral. He's not out of this yet. He's still making more roaches. It's all he can really afford. Hydra's now on the way. Hydrogen is done. I believe the Lurker Den still isn't. There it is. Lurker Den is now in production. And we'll see how Serral can claw his way back into this. We'll see if he can survive, because Clem, being active once again, is moving out towards the bottom left, and not a lot here in position. He could try to target down the hatchery, and he will get to the base. The hatchery will go down. Lurker Den is on the way. The problem is that, yeah, it's not going to be enough. GG gets called. I was about to say, the problem is that even if the Lurker Den finishes, even if we get Lurkers out, it's not going to be enough. And Clem takes game number 1. GG. The reasoning for that is we already have ghosts. Like, we already have a good answer to the Lurkers. Like, Serral, who's just one step behind after the massive Doom drop into the main base. To be fair, it was a Hail Mary play. It was a Hail Mary play from Clem to go for, I think it was 7 full medevacs. 7 full medevacs into the main base of Serral. And it paid off. It won Clem the game. Then and there in that moment, he sniped the Hive. He sniped the spawning pool. He sniped an Evo chamber, the infestation pit. And he traded so well with the army. He got the natural. He got a bunch of workers. It was crazy how much damage he got. Sometimes one drop is all it takes. And with that, Clem takes a lead. He takes a lead in this series map, but that was on Babylon. Again, Babylon, a bit of a smaller map, does kind of favor that more aggressive style of Clem. We'll see if Serral can bring it back here on some of these other maps, as we are getting into Dragon Scales. Here we go. Catching up at the chat. No shoddy plays mech versus Serral. Yo, Ash is coping, Papi. Why are you coping? Hiya. We'll see. Maybe Clem only plays mech against like Raynor and Dark. Maybe specifically against Serral he doesn't go for it. It's possible. It is possible. tis possible. As we are going to be getting ready here for our next game, looks like we're just resolving some technical issues, and we're just making sure that everything is okay, that everything is on the up and up. But a solid game, a solid game one here for Clem. We'll see if he can take that momentum even further here. We'll see if he can extend his lead even, which would be pretty insane against Serral. Clem isn't Poppy, he's boy wife. Asher, you're an animal. Ay. Not like this, Poppy, not like this. But yeah, this is a pretty intense moment here. I mean, thankfully for both players, we mentioned it earlier, but just to put emphasis on it again, this is a double elimination tournament. So regardless of who wins and who loses, both Clem and Serral, they have another life. They have another chance here to bring it all back through the lower bracket. Problem is, the lower bracket isn't gonna get easier. Speaking of talking about players that are in that lower bracket, Rainer, Maru, they're down there. Rainer and Maru, they are down there in that lower bracket, waiting for any of these unfortunate players to just fall upon them. So it's gonna get terrifying. It's not like this, Poppy, not like this. It is gonna get scary. Solar's down there, Lambo as well. So Solar, mate. Oh no. Okay, I was about to say, imagine if Serral loses and he gets knocked down to face Solar. That would be such a shame. That would actually be so smudged for Serral if that were to happen. I'm just checking though. I believe the loser of the series moves will be facing off Lambo in that lower bracket. So thankfully they'll be avoiding Solar. Otherwise, that would be just potentially a sad end to that storyline. But who knows? Maybe Serral wants it, Poppy. Maybe he wants to face off against Solar again. Maybe he wants his redemption. He wants his revenge. It's possible. It's possible. But until then, we are just going to be waiting for the players to get, or for the lobby to get set up here to get into our next game. Again, the players may have just needed a moment as well just to set themselves up before jumping on in. And really, it just gives us like more time to jam out to the music. Just jam out to the J-pop. In top left, Serral. And in the bottom right hand corner, we have for Team Liquid, Clem. Ay. As here we go. This is something that we were waiting for, but Clem is going to be going for the low ground 2-racks, or at least setting up for a low ground 2-racks opener here. Again, something that has been spreading like wildfire throughout the scene, throughout the Terrans, especially in Korea. And of course, the Europeans are embracing it in their own way as well. Once again, Serral did go for a 15-15. Was a 15 hatch into a 15 pool. So just like the previous game, Serral is looking to cut corners and try to defend with pure queen with a faster spawning pool, just to be a little bit more greedy when it comes to how much he's investing in his drones. We'll see if he can get away with it though, because I'm pretty sure these Reapers are going to be forcing out some additional lings from Serral just so he can keep himself alive, just so he can keep himself safe. The other downside to this opener that Serral's going for is that his gases are delayed. It's gas after the pool, after the hatch, obviously. And this does mean that link speed is going to finish up a little bit later. It does mean that Clem will have a little bit more map control available. More than usual, as Reapers are going to be sent across the map. Of course, we have to keep our eye on Clem to see if he does double down and throw down a third Rex, or if he does go for a natural base. And again, I'm feeling a natural. Should have seen a third Rex by now. Clem is just building up his resources to go for that expand. And there we go. Expansion is on the way. Okay. I was really curious because I saw the resources spent, but I didn't see the CC on the low ground. He's going for an expansion on the high ground instead. Very interesting choice here. It looks like maybe he wants to fake out a 3-racks and fake out a 1-base all in. Meanwhile, back at home, Serral going for a very early Roach Warren, skipping link speed entirely. Oh, but he does go for the cancel. Okay. Upon scouting the main base, it looks like the Overlord did go straight into the main, and I think he saw the CC. I could be mistaken there, but I believe he went in far enough to confirm. And yeah, Serral is just gonna be changing his mind here. And again, we have seen these 2x openers shut down Roach rushes pretty well. I do believe that Clem would be able to do the same. So we go. The Reapers do make their way into the main base. Serral once again, very fast lair, just like last game. It was like 3-minute 12 lair-ish. 3:10, 3:12. Very early lair. Now, we saw last game this led into fast roach speed, and Serral wasn't really able to do too much damage with it, as he went up against a mass rack style. Now, we do have the roach horn on the way from Serral, a little bit later than what we previously saw. Gas is also on the way. And we do have our transition here from Clem. This time he's going for a 2-1-1. Okay, a 3cc 2-1-1, of course. So a very economic variant. Meanwhile, the Reapers, they make their way into the main base, and it looks like they can get the Queen up. He wants it. He wants it. And he will. Oh my god, not. He will not get it in the end. The Queen somehow. Oh, there we go. Queen initially survived, but the Reaper comes in, finishes it off. The fast layer has been scouted. And there it is. Roach speed is on the way. But Serral is expanding, and Serral is droning as well. So I'm really curious if he's going to be committing to an attack, or if he's doing this just to be safe. We have seen a lot of Roach openers recently from Serral, even before this. Not rushing into a lair, the same way that Serral is at the moment. But we have seen a lot of Roach rushes from him, just to keep himself safe here in this matchup. And I wonder if that's to be the case here, or if he does intend to hit the timing. There we go, as the Roach has been revealed to the Reaper. Clem is fully aware of the Roaches moving out, and I'm sure he's going to be taking it seriously. Meanwhile, the Overseer dives into the main base, does get eyes on the 3rd CC, as well as the factory and the starport. So Serral is fully aware of the 2-1-1. And yeah, he's droning, so he's going to be trying to keep up here with Roaches defensively. Boy. And we'll see if he can do so. Clem once again going to be hitting the field. Moving out now with his double drop. Looking to deny creep, looking to pick off any stray units, whether they be queens or roaches or even drones. But yeah, this is playing out very similarly to game number 1. And to be fair, like I would have said that Serral was in a pretty good position in game 1 if it wasn't for the doom drop. Like up until that point, Serral, he was keeping up, he was droning his bases, he was containing his opponent, getting damage done. It was not a bad game from Serral. It was just, you know, the doom drops. Like what mentioned it earlier, like sometimes one wrong move can make or break a game. You know, that's just how unforgiving StarCraft can be. It's why we smurge, but it's also why we love. You know, it's StarCraft, Pappy. It's StarCraft. And here we go. Once again, we have Tunneling Claws, we have Burrow, we have Pneumatized Carapace. That is, of course, Overlord Speed on the way. So Serral's getting ready here for his mass harassment with Roaches. Oh, center base is going to be denied, though. Very good pick off from Clem. As Clem is going to be doubling back. So again, looking for any other 4th base, looking to deny any other bases here from Serral. There is that Triple Lord on the way. Again, Burrow is about to finish up. Serral wants to be as aggressive as possible. We saw Clem, for the most part, was able to handle it last game. Last game, Serral only got 5 worker kills. We'll see if he can do better here in game 2. As Clem continuing to double back here, continuing to deny that base on the right-hand side. Oh, and we do see him dive into the middle line as well. It does get 1 drone. Only 1 as... Oh, Clem! He sees keen eyes from Clement as he does spot that. Does lift the depot. And the turret is on the way. Did he spot it? Was that just per chance? Alright, here we go. We have the main army hitting the 3rd. We have a drop into the main base. And we have Tunneling Claw of Roaches heading towards the natural. A tri-pronged attack from Serral. Is it going to work? Do you see the roaches attempting to get into the natural base are going to be deflected? We have the main army pushing towards that third base. There is one tank within range, and oh, that's a lot of volleys on the main army. Game 1, Serral got 5 SCVs. Here in game 2, he gets 2. Again, doing the same trick twice. Clem, he was ready for it this time. He was more than ready, but we do see Serral collapsing on the third base. The tank is going to go down. And suddenly, the third is looking that much more exposed. There is one tank on the high ground, but Serral can still try to punish this base. Alas, he's going to give up on this position. Clem has too many reinforcements. And we can see at home, Serral, as we feel SimCity, man. I feel SimCity, man. As across the map, we can see 2-2 on the way. We have the infestation bit for infestors. So Serral is already transitioning up into the next stage, the next step. Fourth base is up and running. He's going to be droning up to 73. A pretty solid worker count here for Serral. Oh, as some of the Ravagers are being exposed, 3 Ravagers go down instantly. Ay. Good Pigos for Clem. Rough start for Serral. As he's working on infestation pit, working on a hydrogen, working on that hive. Just like that last game, Serral is looking to transition into lurkers. The lunkers, Poppy. Last game, he wasn't really able to get there comfortably. Meanwhile, we have a big drop into the main base. Not a 7 medevac drop, this time only 4, but, you know, still have to respect it nonetheless. I believe the drop does get eyes on the hive that's on the way, that's in production. So Clem should have a good idea that lurkers are on the horizon. So if he wants to, he could start working towards ghosts. For now, is just going to be solidifying himself here with a bio tank. Serral is the first player to max out, but again, he does have inflated supply. Big fungal on the army, but not a lot to follow up on it. Again, not too many Ravagers. As the drop does go into the main. At the same time, a big run by Serral was waiting for a move out, and he slips on in into the main, into the natural mineral lands. SCVs will go down. How many, though? That's the question. At the same time, the main army of Clem trying to move out, but he does run into Biles, does run into Ravagers. And the move out is going to be slowed down. Oh, you can see how small this map is. An Infestor almost gets sniped, but this base is so exposed. The tanks are within range. They can support from the other side. From Clem's half of the map. 6 SCVs go down in the main. As roaches have been falling, we've been replacing them with Hydras. Oh god, but the tank positioning here is brutal. And Serral is having a hard time holding on. At the same time, we have a drop in between the bases. A lot of workers are going down across the map. 11, 12 SCVs. And it looks like Serral is going to be able to come in from behind, get on top of the tanks, and takes down almost every single one. What's important, even though Serral, he was kind of pinned back, he does preserve his workers, and these roach run-bys, oh my, 19 roaches in almost every base. They get 19 SCVs. Clem was hyper-fixated, hyper-focused on the attack across the map. He wasn't really focusing back at home. And those roaches, they got out of control, and that is enough damage here to give Serral enough breathing room to actually tech up, get into lurkers. Size expands on the way, the lurker upgrades. The hive this time will not be sniped. The tunneling claw roaches, they're not stopping, by the way. They take down another tank. Whatever they can get. Looks like a scan is going to hunt them down, but we mentioned it earlier, right? Like, Serral, he wants to get rid of these roaches. He wants to refine his army. He wants to throw them away. And it is Serral's turn to doom drop. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go, mate. You did me dirty in game 1. Let's do the same. Is this going to be as successful? We'll see. You know, there's a world where Serral, he can get his lurkers on top of the production, camp the production, and end the game from there. That would be a bit of a kill move. We'll see what gets loaded in and what moves out. As the 6 drop lords are now done. Here we go. Serral getting position. Really, he's just clearing up an attack path, clearing up any kind of vision. That's in position, and there we go. The drop lords are being loaded up. Lunkers heading for the main. Not too many of them. 7 lurkers. As they head towards the main, Serral, he wants to distract the main army. Oh, we do see the Viking potentially catch the drop. Yeah, Clem is moving back into his main. Everything is going into the main base. Clem does see this ahead of time. And these lurkers, they shouldn't get much done. Oh, they're going to trade well against the Marines. The ghosts aren't out yet. But the lurkers will be cleaned up. This is an expensive loss for Serral. A lot of gas for Marines more than anything. But at the same time, we do have a big counterattack here at the third base. Workers are going down. Really, the drop in the main was more of a distraction than anything. GG gets called. Clem gets pulled apart. And Serral takes game number 2. We have a series. We have a back and forth. GG, the Doom drop from Serral. This one wasn't really intended to kill his opponents, or to actually, apparently not really intended to take control of the main base, but more to distract Clem in the end. Did expose his fringe bases. Economy was crippled, and Serral puts a point on the board. GG. GG, well played. We are 1-1. And that makes this next game that much more important here. It's going to be Royal Blood. And on this map, we're going to determine who takes a lead in this series, who gains momentum here, who is going to be one step closer to taking the series. Hard to say. I'm really curious if we're going to play this similar style out again. I'm really curious if Serral, especially against Clem, is just really feeling these roach openers. He's been doing it 2 games now in a row. The exact same opener, actually. And we could see it again on Royal Blood, especially on some of these smaller maps. Serral may not feel confident or comfortable enough to go Ling Bane outside of Altitude and Altitude and Ancient Cistern. It's possible. We shall see. Oh. Here we go. Game number 3. Again, Royal Blood. A map that's a little bit middle of the road. I say that. We have seen a lot of really aggressive styles on this map. Pushes on this map can be devastating. Reinforcements don't take too long at all to arrive. There can be some really good tank positionings as well. We've seen a lot of ARAXs on Royal Blood. But we'll see what Clem goes for, as Clem has been the one who's been mixing things up. Again, Serral has been going for the same thing, going for a 3-minute-ish lair timing into roaches, into 1-1, into an infestation pit. Meanwhile, Clem, he's been mixing it up, going for game 1, 3 racks. Game 2, 2-1-1. Here in game 3, what will we see? What will we see? And here we go. We're loading on in the bottom left-hand corner. For Team Basilisk, it is Serral going for the 15-15 once again. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the French Terran. For Team Liquid, Clem. Oh, mate, Clement. What kind of opener will we see from the Terran? So far, every game, Serral has gone for a 15 hatch into a 15 pool. Even on the game where Clem went for a proxy, even when Clem went for a 2-rax opener, we saw that Serral was cutting corners and he still refused to make any lings. He did pay a price for it. If you remember, Serral did lose a queen early on, just because he was only defending with pure queens. But we'll see if he's going to be able to do the same here in game number 3, as Clem is going for that 2-rax opener once again. Really, I want to see if Clem is willing to throw down a 3rd Rax and go Mass Reaper. As his SCV is moving out, and this is already peculiar. Is he going to proxy the 3rd? He will! Okay! I was really perplexed when I saw that that SCV moving out across map. I'm like, man, you don't typically SCV scout with this. Like, what's going on? It is a 3-Rax opener, but far more aggressive here with the 3rd Rax out on the map instead. So this is a Mass Reaper coming out from Clem. And Serral, with this 15-15, I am a little bit concerned for him. I'm concerned especially if Clem does hide his additional Reapers and he surprises Serral. Against Serral, he is going to be skipping lings early on, so his queens are going to be that much more vulnerable. Oh boy. Overlord does rock up. is getting eyes on the wall here on the low ground. On both Raxes. For now, only drones are in production. Again, things still aren't ringing alarm bells for Serral, not yet. First Reaper doesn't make it across the map, is going to be disrupting the economy, and does force a Spore. Queen pops out, and oh my god, Clem, he does force a second Spore out of Serral. Overlord goes into the main base, and Serral should be recognizing that something is amiss, something is wrong, especially if there is no natural. There it is, Roach Warren on the way for Serral very early on. So around a 240, 235 Roach Warren. Meanwhile, the additional Reapers have arrived. No Lings in production, still only drones, by the way. And Clem, he wants to snowball out of control. He wants these Queens. They're getting very low. Now Lings are on the way. One Reaper does get targeted down. One Reaper for, sorry, 2 Reapers for 1 Queen. I would say maybe a better trade for Serral. The other Reapers are getting very low. Lings are on the way to reinforce. Again, 2 Reapers. That is a lot of momentum now gone for Clem. And Clem is transitioning back at home. He's already working on his CC and his factory. Go, but that Reaper count still has to be respected. He wants another Queen. Up. Up. Oh, he barely does not get it. Boys have to be pulled. 2 workers go down. Once again, Clem is going to be losing another one of those Reapers, but he gets 2 Queens, and he may even get the 3rd. Roaches come out just in time to save Serral. Things were very quickly snowballing out of control. Serral down to only 1 Queen. But the Roaches have arrived, and the Roaches, they keep Serral safe. But especially because the gases have been delayed, I think this is a really smart choice to defend, especially considering that link speed would be heavily delayed. So rushing into Roaches like this does make plenty of sense for Serral, as he is going to be able to hold. But Serral is also being contained to 2 bases. He's being contained to 2 bases. I love that Clem is prioritizing Concussive Shell. We have Marauders on the way. Clem is preparing himself for a 2-base all-in. Or to defend against a 2-base all-in, I should say. He's getting everything anti-Roach. Speaking of Serral, he has cut workers, he's making Lings, Roaches, Ravagers, he's sending everything across the map. He's going to be collapsing on these Reapers from behind. Does get 1 Reaper. And he's committed to his push. Clem back at home. Oh, that is a late bunker. I would have assumed we would have seen that a little bit earlier. Bunker just now starting. Is it going to finish in time? Clem doing a great job here at slowing Serral down. Picking away at the army. It looks like the bunker may just finish in time. It's going to be close to Roaches. They do arrive. Oh, Bile's going to be connecting as well. The bunker does finish. The Marauders, they load in. They do force Serral back. But there's still a lot exposed here as the piles are going to be connecting. Oh my god, they almost take down that bunker. They can go for the depots. They can go for the production. There's still other targets here for Serral. And behind this, Serral could drone, but he's not. He's not droning. He's still making nothing but Lings. He's going all in. Bunker will go down, and Serral is started stepping forward here into the natural base. Lings are coming in to support as well. Banshee arrives, and the Banshee may just be it. It may just be everything that Clem needs. But it may just be too much here as Serral is breaking into the natural. That Banshee, it's got a lot of work to do. It's going to eventually focus down the Ravagers and eventually focus down the Roaches. But Serral is busting into the main base, getting on top of the units, getting on top of the Marauders. SCVs, they have to be pulled. Oof. And so many workers are going down. You can see Clem microing his heart out. He's down to 1 Marauder against 1 Roach. These are slow Lings, so it's taking a while to reinforce and taking a while to really get anything done. Oof, as even the Raxes are on fire. Behind this, Serral is transitioning. He's got a lair on the way. And Clem does defend. I would even say Clem is ahead at this point. He preserves the majority of his production. He has mules. He is even on workers. Again, that Banshee had a lot of work to do. And boy, did it get to work. Uh, Serral gets cleaned up. Serral forced back home. And he made a couple of workers, but only a couple. And we can see what the purpose of that lair was. It's a nidus. Did notice that, of course, no additional gases were taken. We do have a vision of the main base as well. Clem working on a third CC. He's thinking a little bit too far ahead when he needs to be in the moment, in the now. As Serral is going for the nidus. What do we have at home to defend? We don't have a bunker. We have one tank on the high ground in the main, which is where it's going to be most exposed, most vulnerable. As Serral will go straight to the main. Bearing in mind that Serral doesn't have link speed either, so his links aren't going to be as effective. But the Marine does check, does scout, does spot the nidus, but it's too late. The nidus will finish. Tank is going to be repositioned. The boys are being pulled, but the army has arrived. Second nidus is on the way. Do we have any Ravagers? It looks like we do. Can we get on top of the tank? There we go. First tank is going to be going down. The boys are being pulled. We have a second tank coming out. Going to be sieging up. Getting a lot of damage done on those roaches. But there aren't that many Marines. The final tank goes down. The Banshee comes in. The hero Banshee. But we have Queens. We have anti-air. This time the Banshee on its own will not clean this up. And Serral is camping the production. He's on top of the factories, on top of those Raxes as well. Good target firing out of Clem. He gets another Ravager. He may get a Queen. Every unit counts. Every unit matters. Oh my god, the repairs are clutch as well. And it looks like Clem is regaining control of his main base, forcing Serral out. Now, Clem did lose a lot of workers. He's down to 19 SCVs. He doesn't have a lot left, but he does have mules, and he's about to finish up a third CC. So Clem isn't economically, he's not in a bad position. He's still in this. He's very much so still in this, and Serral knows that. Serral knows that now is not the time to drone. He has to just double down again and again. Another nidus outside the natural is spotted by a medevac. Oh my, empty medevac by the way, but a medevac nonetheless is going to be forced back. Here we go. Creep is being spread. Roach Ravager has arrived. The Banshee did survive, by the way. Banshee is still alive. Barely. But I believe Queens are about to arrive as well. And this Banshee is not long for this world. But where are the Queens? I saw them earlier. There we go. There we go. Queens are waddling on in. That Banshee one shot away from going down. Again, the tank count was reset earlier. We just now have rebuilt another tank. Serral trying to gain control of the low ground. Trying to gain control of the natural. Oh, but that one tank, that means everything here. The bio army is getting larger. I don't know if Serral can actually pull this off. It may just be too much. Clem may have too much, as he does repair that Banshee. Yeah, one queen, two queens go down. GG gets called. It's just too much. And Clem takes the lead in this series. He takes game number 3. GG. Serral even smiling on camera there. Oh my god, showing some emotion, Papi. As he takes a swig of his water. Again, Clem coming out with a 3 Rax, with one of those Raxes being proxied as well in the face of Clem. Sorry, in the face of Serral. And he was able to trade well, force a reaction, force an all-in out of Serral. Alas, Serral was not able to break Clem, just barely, whether it was the tanks, whether it was the Banshees, whether it was the Marauders. Like, Clem, he was microing his heart out, the way that he was stutter-stepping with his Marauders. Even when he had like 2 of them left, he was squeezing as much as he could out of those Marauders. Yeah, Clem, with that, he takes a lead in this series. He will be one game away from advancing on to the upper semifinals. Una más is all Clem needs. Catching up with the chat. Does it mean Serral is out? No. So if you weren't here earlier, this bracket is double elimination. So regardless, one is a best of 5. But regardless of how this series goes, the loser will have a second life. The loser will have a second chance in the lower bracket. For some context, the loser of this series faces Lambo in the lower bracket. The winner advances on to face the winner of Beyond versus Dark. So regardless of if you're a fan of Serral or if you're a fan of Clem, don't worry, there isn't as much on the line here. They will still continue their tournament run, whether they win or whether they lose. Obviously, winning is more important as, you're in less danger. But don't worry. We still have plenty of games ahead of us containing or featuring these players. G'day, my feathery quacklings. Oh, quack, Poppy, quack. Oh. And here we go. We're getting into game number 3. And in the bottom left-hand corner for Team Basilisk, it is Serral. Oh, he's mad. He's serious. The gloves are off. And in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent for Team Liquid, Clem. Still waking up. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. We do have potentially the final game of this series. Clem needs one more. Serral needs to win this game to bring it back to force the ace match. And now we're on Ancient Cistern. And I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned earlier that these roach openings from Clem make sense on some of these smaller maps. I expect to see a return to Ling Bane on Ancient Cistern. We can see that this time, for the first time this series, Serral is feeling confident enough to go for a hatch first. Hatch gas pool opener from Serral. Before this, it's been 15-15s the entire time, going for these earlier queens and trying to cut corners. Here on a map like Ancient Cistern, Serral, he has more breathing room. He will be able to get into a more comfortable opener, and I would be surprised if Serral does go roach heavy again. I expect more Ling Bane here on Ancient Cistern. But we'll see. We'll see what Serral decides to go for. Likewise, we'll see what Clem goes for. All of a sudden, like, the strategies, they need to change here on a larger map like Ancient Cistern. Clem as well is aware of that, and as a result, he may go for a slower style, may go for a more drop-heavy style instead. I'm curious because Clem has been the one doing different things every game. Every game so far, we've seen a different variation, a different build. Game 1 was, a 3 racks kind of follow-up here into a mass bio push. Game 2 was a 2-1-1. Game 3 was a proxy 3 racks mass reaper. Clem has been switching it up. He has been keeping Serral guessing. And here we go. We have the drone going to be moving out, looking to take an expansion, but the SCV has arrived. The Reaper is here as well, and it looks like this drone is going to go down. Will not be allowed to morph into a gas geyser. Good pickoff already here, and you can see Serral shake his head there, or grimace on the camera, losing that drone, forced to take the triangular third base instead. So a little bit of a win in the early game for Clem. Behind this, we do see a 3cc opener from Clem as well. I imagine 3cc Banshee, but we'll keep our eyes on him. So fast 3cc is on the way. Very economic at a Clem this time. Oh, and it is not 3cc Banshee. It is 3cc 211 instead. There's that second racks on the way. So once again, a very bio-heavy, very drop-heavy style. Meanwhile, Link speed on the way for Serral. Feels good, man. It's looking like Ling Bane. Ah, it's what we all wanted, Poppy. It's what we all wanted. As Clem is going to be dipping into that main base, just trying to get a read on what's going on. Of course, is aware of the third base location at least, but isn't able to get too much more information than that. As Clem is working on Stim back at home, building up his bio forces. He's basically going to be waiting until his medevacs come out before he can be active on the map. Until then, he's got a couple of Reapers, a couple of Hellions, but not too much. Only a handful just to get a read on things. Oh, even get a drone. Again, a nice pickup here from Clem, getting 2 workers already. Doesn't sound like a lot, but every little bit counts. Back at home, Serral dives in. He gets eyes on the third CC already being done. He gets eyes on the 2 Raxes. He's fully aware of what's going on. He's fully aware that he has to be ready here for the stim timing, for the drop play of Clem. Yeah, from here, Serral going pretty standard, actually. We have a 4-minute 40 lair timing from Serral. From here, we should be soon seeing a Baneling Nest as well, getting into Baneling Speed. This is very standard, very safe play from Serral. There it is, that Baneling Nest is in production. So it is going to be Ling Bane. The reason why I say very safe play, he's not taking risks by cutting corners and going for faster Evo Chambers. He's avoiding the Evo Chambers for now. I'm going to be not rushing into upgrades and... and just prioritizing Baneling Speed instead. Meanwhile, Clem taking his third base on location, overshooting the third a little bit, but it's okay. He does recognize it. He does pull back. It's all good. He will be landing that third. Meanwhile, the medevacs have hit the field. Stim is done. Marines are moving out. The drop play is upon us. And is Serral going to be able to keep up with Clem? We have 12 more lanes in production. The Queens are moving to the front lines. The push has been spotted, and Serral is here to keep his creep alive, to keep his overlords alive. Meanwhile, as Baneling Speed starts, we have double Evo Chambers on the way for 1-1. So Serral is working on, eventually going to be working on his upgrades. Again, Ling Bane is what we assumed we would see on Ancient Cistern, and that's what we are getting. Personally, I'm happy to see it. I mean, who doesn't love watching Bio versus Ling Bane? Ah, it's beautiful. The dance, the back and forth is peak StarCraft. And we are finally getting it in this series in Game 4. Creep is going to get cleaned up here in the center of the map. So far, Clem doing a great job at just, taking down whatever tumors he can. He hasn't really gotten any major pickoffs yet. But he also hasn't lost any of his Marines, or many of his Marines. He hasn't lost his medevacs. Still being very active, just keeping Serral busy. As Clem is going to be building up towards his next push. Over the course of this game, he's been building up his Marine count, his Bio count, his tanks have been banking up back at home as well. And there we go. Now that we're reaching the 7-minute mark, the first big dedicated push is coming from Clem. 2 tanks alongside a Bio army. Clem is going to be looking to try to punish or try to push towards some of these bases. And he's going to have a pretty good position here with these tanks. Here we go. The army does stim on forward, trying to get on top of the Queens. Does get one Queen. That's a lot of tumors. But he does manage to get one of those Queens. A lot of the creep as well. Serral, though, getting ready to surround. Does have a Ling army behind this. Waiting for Clem to push even further onto creep. The hatchery, though, is getting very low. And here we go. Serral, he comes in from behind. He surrounds the army and he cleans up the tanks. Very patient play out of Serral. Look at how low that hatchery is, by the way. One tank shot away from going down. Now, Serral did clean up the tanks, but as we can see, Clem kept his Marines alive. And he is ready to go once again. Pushing in with the second wave. And a lot of the creep that was once here is now gone. It's going to be that much more difficult for Serral to engage. This time he doesn't have a surround pre-set up. So we can see Serral being contained here. Clem rotating around, denying more creep. Hive is on the way. Interesting choice by Serral. So he's not rushing into a Hydra Den, but he is rushing into a Hive. Working towards Adrenal. Vipers as well. Serral's going to be staying on Ling Bane for a little bit longer. Look at the mine. Ooh, a big mine shot off on those Lings. Very good connection from Clem. That mine does survive as well. It could live to fight another day. Live to get another shot off. That was 18 Lings for one mine. Ah, but it will go down. Hesitation did arrive. Meanwhile, 2-2's on the way as well. We can see Clem trying to force his way through, but Alas, is just too much imposition. Clem is being forced back, and Serral has some breathing room. He has some breathing room here to saturate his bases. Serral, he is droning up to 80 at this point. He's on 77. You have 2 more on the way. 80 around. And with that economy, he's going to be able to sustain himself. He's going to be able to keep up here, look to max out. Adrenal on the way. The hive is done. No Vipers yet, but we should be seeing them momentarily. There we go. Vipers are now in production. Mind Shot even doing a bit of friendly fire there. Of course, the Vipers, they do provide some anti-air in those power bombs once they do arrive. As Serral cleans up all the mines, deflects the drop towards the north. 2-2 is going to kick in. And now that the hive is done, now that we're getting into our hive upgrades, now is the time for Serral to get into lurkers. Big connection! I'm not looking for a moment. I'm a little bit distracted by his own mine drop, but Serral has eyes on it. He does pull back in time. Oh. Okay. Almost came back too soon. We get some decent connections. Another mine drop here towards the third base as well. Clem, and going for these offbeat mine drops, is not going to find too much damage. But again, it does keep Serral busy. Does interrupt his economy for a moment. And creates an opening for Clem. Here we go. He's pushing on through. Oh, this time not an amazing mine shot though. Getting some friendly fire. Banelings do roll in, taking down a lot of those Widow Mines. Serral now getting into Hydras. Vipers have hit the field. Going for a power bomb on those medevacs. A quick pull away, a quick split from Clem. God, but those medevacs are so low. They're all barely alive. The queens are arriving. They want those medevacs at the same time. Serral going for a big Ling counterattack. He's had enough defending. He wants to force Clem to turn back around. Serral, he hasn't been able to harass this entire game. And even then, he was deflected. He hasn't touched the worker count, the economy of Clem. But soon that's about to change. The Viper! Ooh, Viper is going to get sniped. Good control out of Clem, but he is going to get surrounded. Is going to be forced back. Likewise, reinforcements are trickling on in. Mine shots are going off. I believe we don't have a lurker den yet from Serral. He's just staying on Lingbane Hydra. Which is fine. Right now, he does need a more flexible army, a more mobile army. More than anything. Just to keep up with the constant drop harass, the constant pushes, aggression of Clem. As we can also see, the creep is barely exceeding the bases of Serral. Like, Clem has just been so aggressive, so in the face of Serral that he just hasn't had time, hasn't had room to spread creep. But here we go, a big engagement. Banelings are crashing on in. And it looks like Clem does take a fight, does clean up the majority of... Serral does clean up the majority of Clem's army. God, why do I keep mixing up their names? What's... They don't even sound the same. But yeah, Serral taking a pretty good fight overall. Forcing back his opponent. There it is. Lurker Den is on the way for Serral. The Lunkers, they're on the horizon. Let's go. The Lunkers are soon to be upon us. Vipers arrive now with good energy. A solid amount of energy. Oh god, big mine shots though. But again, what's important as the armies are trading, Clem still untouched with his economy. You know, he's, what, on 6 bases at this point? He's got his 5th up and running, his 6th up and running as well, on 80 workers. Clem has just been so aggressive that Serral, he's just been stuck at home. Hasn't been able to go for these run-bys, hasn't been able to go for these counterattacks. Ooh, Viper's taking a big mine shot to the face. Serral, he has to back off. He has to tend to his wounds. Has to hold on to those Vipers. So once again, he's looking for those power bombs. There we go. The first sign of the lunker. Lunkers are on the way for Serral. He does need them to take some more efficient fights to force a transition out of his opponent, but it's already there. Looking at the production tab, we have Neo Steel frames, high-sec auto tracking, Ghost production has already commenced. We have a Fusion Core for, I imagine, Liberator range. Even when lurkers do hit the fields, Clem is ready for it. He is ready for it. And here we go. We have a Ghost push on the left-hand side. So we have enough to deal with this. Mine shots are going to be going off. Decent mines. Ghosts are going to be saved. They are going to be preserved. Oh, big mine shot on those Lings. Serral being forced back. He's having a hard time keeping up. We saw Serral shake his head a moment ago, and yeah, he's just having a hard time keeping up. A couple more drones are going down. But this may all change depending on how many lurkers we get. I did see, I want to say 2 or 3 lurkers in production. Mines are being baited out, and it looks like finally Serral catches Clem out of position. This planetary is going to go down. Didn't get the workers, but did get the base at least. Finally, the economy of Clem is being touched. Is being hindered. Know what I think it is? I think it's just because on the UI, Serral is on top and Clem's on the bottom. It's messing up the brain. Not like this. But here we go. As Clem was out of position, as Clem lost the base, likewise, I can say the same about Solar as a hatchery does go down. Oh, as he tries to come in first round, mine shots are going to be going off. Viper's coming in from behind. Look for those power bombs. Big EMPs. Power bombs will not land. And with the concave, Serral is being forced back. Clem pushing forward. There it is. There's that lurker that we saw earlier. He's going for a counterattack. But Clem is gaining ground. Looks like that run by, though, is forcing Clem back. Again, Clem has barely had to worry about any of these counterattacks, but they are doing a lot here. And Deepers are falling. Reinforcements being cut off. Clem, he turned everything around. Once again, Serral giving himself some breathing room, buying some breathing room. Behind this, he's getting into 3-3, getting into his own Hive tier upgrades. It looks like Serral is catching wind of some of the bases of his opponents. Can't quite do much about them, not yet. Oh, and Serral is setting everything through the center of the map. He has had enough. Well, most of what he has across the map. Ling's catching reinforcements. Vipers are pushing through as well, getting the Liberators. But Clem has too much. Serral's being forced back. He loses another hatchery. We can see Serral plummet in the supply. That attack was not it. I think he was hoping that Clem had more on the map, that he wouldn't have as much reinforcements. But Clem came out just in time. You can see Serral just shifting in his chair a little bit agitated. I don't blame him. 2 more hatcheries go down. Serral doesn't have an amazing bank. Another base is going to fall. Clem, it's becoming too much. It's getting out of hand. Oh, but here we go. Serral coming from behind. Big fungal! Massive fungal on those ghosts. Good EMPs on the Vipers, though. No parasitic bombs. Clem, he escapes with his army. He escapes with his high-tech units. Gets 10 worker kills. And he's continuing to push on the left-hand side. It looks like Serral has enough to hold on. But for the most part, this game, it does feel like Clem has been in the driver's seat. It feels like Serral has been one step behind, just struggling to keep up with Clem. Some of these run-bys and counterattacks have been doing well for Serral, but they haven't really done much damage. They've just been forcing Clem to turn around, just giving Serral some breathing room, and clearly that's not enough. Clearly that is not enough. Clem taking another base. He's expanding towards the top left, and it looks like he will snipe this hatchery as well. It's barely standing, barely alive. Now, everything could change with a good fungal. Like, we have plenty of infestors on the field. One good fungal is sometimes all it takes. And here we go, Serral collapsing on these ghosts once again. But Clem, he just falls back to a planetary. Banling's rolling on in once again, and good EMPs on the Vipers. They barely get anything off. And it looks like Clem may just have too much. Yeah, GG gets called. Serral cannot keep up, and Clem takes the series 3-1. Oh, mate, Clement, he does it. He takes down arguably the best Zerg player in Europe and advances on into the upper semifinals. Oh, GG. GG, well played. As I mentioned earlier, if you're a fan of Serral, don't worry, he's still in the tournament, but Clem looking powerful here tonight. Especially on some of those smaller maps, he was looking so strong here against the Roach style of Serral, abusing the immobility of the Roaches and the lack of anti-air that Serral had. But here on Ancient Cistern, didn't have to rely on Roaches. It was more straight up Lingbane versus Bio, and likewise, Clem was still just all over Serral, denying bases. More importantly, denying creep, right? Because of all the creep that was being denied, Serral, he had very limited vision on the map. He had a really hard time keeping up with the counterattacks of Clem, and had a really hard time even holding onto his fringe bases as well. Every now, there were a couple of moments in that game where Serral was able to force Clem back and do some damage across the map, but it was never anything too significant, never anything too major. Clem was able to react in time, to defend in time, and yeah, really powerful play from our French Terran player, making his way through. And now we're here to find out who faces off against Clem in the next round. We have, up next, Bjorn versus Dark. See you after the break. See you soon.